Hi everyone, Tarran Deane here. Thanks so much for joining us on this teleclass. Its aim is to help our financial members achieve either a member or CSP designation. Of course, we're looking ultimately towards the change from a 4-level membership to a 2-level membership, and the purpose of this teleclass is to help you achieve that. So looking at the work that I've been doing, I've been given a brief by Warwick Mary to just share a little bit of behind the scenes work as it relates to what I've been doing here in growing our business. So in taking you on this journey, what I'm conscious of is it's being as professional today for as profitable as you aspire to be tomorrow. So I'm going to make some key assumptions. And if you can see the screen now, just let me know. So Michael, you're watching this live right now. Can you see the screen okay?
Yes, looks good.
Thank you. So the key assumptions that I'm making right now, as you can see the list on the screen, we've got a few points here and I will just cover them off. One, that you know your niche, who your decision makers are for your market and who your audience are, and that you've also had some professional photos taken. If you haven't, genuinely consider doing that. You'd need a budget of around $500 to $700 for professional photos, and they would probably give you between 5 to 8 edited photos for that price. I'm also making an assumption you have a WordPress site that you can self-manage and edit. I'm also making an assumption that you have an email service provider. So a tool that you use to stay in touch with your database and your contacts. Also that you've secured your personal and business name on all social media channels. If you have, brilliant. If you haven't, in the chat area, I'm just going to write down the name of a tool that I have used in the past, and it's called, oh, and of course, ignore that because spell check just came in and didn't like that. So it should be name check without the EC. So namechk.com. And that's one tool that you can look at. We'll get there in the end. There we go. Another one is called NameStation. And we're just making sure spell check doesn't do an autocorrect on that. So NameCheck and NameStation are two tools that I use to verify availability of domain and social names across various channels. I really like those. So I encourage you to look into that. Also want to confirm as an assumption that you already have established an accounting system as a means of keeping a record of your business leads. Now, if you're just starting out, you may not want to incur the monthly fees that either MyOb or Excel or other Excel Zero or other tools charge, but I would assume that at this level, stepping into business, that you do have good accounting infrastructure. Personally, I use Xero. I love it. You just need to be aware that with Xero, unlike MyOb, there has been a rare occasion where Xero does not import all the items as they appear on the bank statement. So you do need to make sure that you're cross-checking that and sitting in the driver's seat of your business. Additionally, making sure, now this is tongue-in-cheek, that you have a mobile phone plan and you know how to use it. Because of telemarketing, we've often thought of telemarketing as something that only overseas staff would do. However, I want to put it to you that it's really another way of just nurturing the people that are already on your database. Also, I'm assuming that you have heard about social media scheduling tools and that you're with our Professional Speakers Australia eSpeaker Find a Speaker directory. Now, this is on the basis that you are already a provisional member, a member, formerly professional member, or CSP. We've recently just run a spring profile makeover competition, and after this video I'll be announcing the winner of that competition in another video to our membership. It's a great resource from our strategic partner eSpeakers. It has an online calendar It allows you to put in all your travel, track your CSP applications, depending on which level of subscription you're on with them. With PSA, you can have a complimentary basic level membership with eSpeakers, or you may elect to upgrade to Plus or as high as Pro. When I was an affiliate, I chose independently to upgrade directly to Pro. So I've been using this now since 2014. Love the tool. I'm an informal ambassador for them. So they're the essentials that I would definitely encourage you to have. So let's just take a look at some of these chat items. Great resources for these links. Love Zero. What's the difference between an affiliate and provisional member? Hi, Joe. So provisional member is the old speaking member. So let's just go here. We have affiliate. So right now we have 4 levels of membership. So that, and it's member and CSP. So offline, you'd be able to double check Michael McQueen's video from last year, which outlined the transition that's currently taking place from a 4-tiered membership to a 2-tiered membership. And we've also got our special general meeting coming up in October of 2017. So depending when you're watching this replay, that may have already happened. So provisional member is the old speaking member category. All right, ready for the next slide? Why, I think you are. Okay, here's what I wish I had done earlier. Here's my Tarran tip. I have tried a number of different business card scanning apps, and in fact this past weekend I've had another volunteer with me. My former PA when I was the national executive popped by, and she's been helping me get all my business cards entered into my Google spreadsheet so that we can then import that directly into my email service provider. I have realised that it is one thing to have apps, it's another thing to devote the time to get all the information uploaded quickly, because speed to market is #1 strategy that I've been lagging in and I wish I could do differently. So perhaps down the track you may be speaking at a conference and you may elect to use one of the new automated tools or through phone messaging, text opt-in, and there's often some tips in the professional speakers closed group around tools like that. And I know Yvonne Adele and Brad Houck both commented on a particular tool that they use for electronic opt-in while at conferences, as opposed to the old business cards. But that's definitely one of my key tips. Wish I'd done it sooner. You see, I've put a picture of Twister on the side there because it occurred to me yesterday when I was literally looking at this container of business cards that it's a lot like having a group of people over in the corner of my office and they're all just tangled up on top of each other, and it's crazy. I'm not showing the love to people, so I'd highly recommend you make sure you get that automated. The second thing is to also ensure you've created your speaker one sheet. Now, the more often you're speaking, the more sophisticated your marketing collateral will be. In this instance, if you're just starting out, I'd very much highlight that you do a traditional speaker one sheet. This was back in 2015, and it's a great way of actually boosting your own sense of confidence and clarity around what you have done thus far, so that you place value on what you've achieved. Now, if I was to zoom in on this, let's go 125. So I simply used one of the bio photos that I had taken some time ago, and then I started developing the fast facts. Now again, this is from 2015, so we've added multiple thousands. I think we're now at about 42,000 audience members. Largest audience was still 1,600, so that hasn't changed. Annual presentations are about that. The executive coaching now is close to 7,000 hours. the leadership hours that I've done over the last 20 years, memberships and affiliations. So you can see this model here. Now it's a case of considering how might that work for you. So if you were to set aside an A4 piece of A4 copy paper and create a list, how many audience members have you had? What's the largest audience you've spoken to? What's the smallest number in a group? How many presentations are you doing a year? Then you begin to develop this inventory of skill that boosts your confidence and gives you a unique positioning piece. Affiliations, education, publications, videos, testimonials, and again, this is an old scale that I had here. Pop in some credibility logos, a couple of testimonials, and that's one side of the double-sided one sheet that you might like to use. Any questions on that right now? No, all good? Okay, quick look at the side comments. Joe uses Nimble and you're an Australian partner. That's great, Joe. For anyone looking to learn more about Nimble, perhaps visit the Facebook group. Joe, if you can just put a message in there about Nimble as a CRM, declaring with an asterisk that you are an Australian partner, but that in this group, in this instance, you're providing information after the call. I give you administrative permission to do that. So that's one of my key tips. The next one here that I've done is, it took me a little while to walk in my confidence with understanding my authority when working with an AV team. So I just want to encourage you to, again, be as professional today as you want to be successful and profitable tomorrow, and develop something like your equipment and AV checklist. And that goes out as an attachment to any relationship agreement that you might do. And also go along with a USB, make sure that you're having your materials recorded onto a USB there and then that you can take away. Usually the AV team will accommodate you with that if they have enough channels. Any questions there? No? And this one. So this has been the biggest transformation for me, developing a multi-purpose document that in itself transitions from inquiry to proposal to engagement. I love that I engaged a graphic designer to work with converting my Word document, and it's just been a brilliant tool. I'm just going to pause now. We have a couple of questions. Mr. Pearson, you've got a question in the side comment. Do you want to unmute? Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mr. Pearson. Your question is, where do you store all your recorded footage?
Yeah, so you've got your recorded footage of you on stage. There's also the recorded footage of you doing programs, interviews, and everything in between. I'm interested, where do you store all that footage? Is it in a professional resource, or what else do you do? And then open to the room, what other options are other people using? Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Great question. Great question. I have a plethora of USBs, and what I do tend to do is make a point of putting those straight into my laptop. So I synchronize both Google and Dropbox to my laptop, and I have an external hard drive. So I actually have laptop, the original USB, an external hard drive, and both Google and Dropbox. What I do if I know that I want to use that collateral is I have a designated folder that is marked as multimedia assets, and I know that as I elect to go ahead and do updated speaker show reels, or I want to upload them to YouTube specifically once they've been edited, then that's where they're stored. The pick of the crop. Not everything earns the right to be on YouTube. Does that answer your question? Mr. Pearson. Please feel free to unmute and chat with me, everyone. I'm happy for that. Okay, I've seen Russell write.
Okay, I'm not muted now. I'm also interested in potentially the rest of the room too. So Joe, I see you're there. I'd love to know what you do for storage. I know that you do a lot of content creation. Okay, asking about the speakers kit. Joe, do you want to come on audio? Are you able to do that now?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, so in terms of like video footage, is that what you mean, Russell?
Yeah, all content creation, because I know that I'm really getting up there into the terabytes of footage that I'm actually storing, and having just cloud for that doesn't seem enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. I work on mostly it's on my laptop. It's backed up to multiple external hard drives, especially footage of presentations, because that's quite large. And then I've got some of it on, I work with OneDrive. Some's on Dropbox. That's more client stuff though. And Google Drive are just releasing a new product that's going to be synced, apparently. So that might be a new thing I'll be using.
And so how many versions of a piece of footage would you keep?
Well, if we're just talking the raw footage, there'll be two versions for backup purposes. But if it's the edited, then that's going to be shared on YouTube or whatever.
It was the old adage was that I remember when I started way back in graphic design, that if it didn't exist in two or more places, it didn't exist.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I certainly don't rely on one because hard drives fail. My laptop, it only has a certain amount of space, so that's only the current stuff I'm working on. OneDrive has everything else and externals. Yeah.
We just had an internal router fail, and so I've now gone to another system that's using a RAID device. That's multiple drives all running together, making backups and copies of themselves. But that's local, so that's actually inside my office and studio. So I was really interested as to the online mirroring or backing up facilities that people were looking at. So I'll jump off the line and let someone else jump in. But
just as a side note, I'm not using it anymore, but before I had my current system, I was using an online backup tool called Carbonite, which is an annual membership, and that would just back up everything locally to the cloud, and really easy to restore, and quite inexpensive. But yeah,
I don't want to lose.
Can you tell me about the restoration?
Can we actually have a conversation offline, because we've only got 30 minutes for this call, and I don't want to get hung up on the backup side of it. But it is
no problem.
It is an important part. So what I'd encourage you both to do is, if you can have that conversation within Professional Speakers Australia group as well, and hashtag it backups for business or something along those lines, because they're very real elements. But again, the focus here on getting to member and making sure that people have got their kits, that there's some systems behind the scenes. So would that be all right if we kept
Absolutely.
it? Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
I'll go and create that as soon as it finishes. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely, Russell. Thank you, Joe. So I just want to come back in here to this sharing piece, and that's a very good aspect that you've both spoken about in terms of the data storage. Where does it go? What do you do with it once you get the recordings? Leverage it very much so. Again, just the relationship agreement. I do want to take the opportunity just to show you what that physically looks like. And here's the master agreement that I've got. So just give me a shout if you can see this online. Is it a bit like a speaker kit? It's actually more like a contract, Joe. So with this, you can see at the top, what I've created is a tri-purpose document. So it's inquiry to proposal to engagement. So it sets the tone with my particular client. So when I have people contacting me from LinkedIn, or they've found me through Google, or they've been referred to me from a past client, by receiving this and me using it as the cornerstone, I can begin to fill in the cells while I'm having the conversation with people or sitting alongside them. I then send it to them as a proposal, and then if they're happy with it, they sign it, and that then becomes the relationship agreement that binds us together in an engagement. So it's not a formal contract. It's a document that I created at the time using Pages for Mac, and then I converted it to a PDF, and then I sent it off and had it made as an editable PDF. Let me take you through the interior so you can see it. So there are some cells that are locked, which may answer your question here, Joe, as we scroll down. So just want to confirm, I've purposefully put 2 logos here because my mothership is website, or authority website, is tarrandeane.com. You can see as I move my cursor over it that it's hyperlinked. And above with Corporate Cinderella is not hyperlinked, but it's there because that's actually our trading name. It's a company, Corporate Cinderella Proprietary Limited. So when people receive invoices from the mother company, I want them to know that we're one and the same. So moving on down, so this is the top part of the document that I've had created, and this has just boosted my clarity and conversions exceptionally well. So I have the top parts locked, and let's go a little bit bigger for you so you can see some of the text. So again, it's editable. I maintain the master on my home screen. So whenever I have a conversation with people, I'm ready to go. It's also stored in my Google Docs. So that way I can just open Google Drive on my phone and access this anywhere. So these dark grey areas are locked, although I can go in and select if somebody is from a particular group or from multiple markets. You can see I can just tick those there. I can do
Tarran, oh, you're going to say we can't see your document.
You can't. Wow.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, no, you know why that is? Because I pre-selected share instead of desktop. There we go. I only shared the PDF. Okay, sorry, I only shared the keynote. You should be able to see that now. Coming up for you, can you see the PDF?
Yes.
Great, thanks guys. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so this is the document that I was just sharing, and here's where you can see the 2 logos. Move my mouse over it, there's the hyperlink. So Joe, you'll see the answer to your question coming up here in regards to, do I customize it for every client? I certainly do go in and personalize all the contact informations and specific components for their gig. So you'll see what's locked in here. It's Tarran Deane. I'm due to have this updated because it has the old domain details here. I haven't worried about it because it all forwards to tarrandeane.com. Well, it should do as I move my mouse over it. Community, I can pre-select, you know, if I'm going for a company, or whether or not conference organisers have worked with me directly. So the client here could be Joe Saunders, Global Domination Company, something like that. So I can go in and personalize all the information wherever you see the editable cell. Physical address, and this was really important, and I'd encourage you all to look at this. Ask the question, who else needs to be involved in this conversation, or are you the authorised decision maker? If no, what other information can I help you with? This is very, very important, because often you find people that simply do not have authority to make that decision. How does that sound to you all right now? Any comments?
That's brilliant.
You like it? Okay, and then this, what I've done is make sure it's reflective of me, that, and this is something else that I'd encourage you with. Don't try and be somebody else, just be you. So use language that you're comfortable with, you know, the phrasing, the tone. So I'll often ask things like, so how does it sound? Does it seem like the shoe's going to be a good fit? And of course, that ties back into Corporate Cinderella as our overarching company. I'll also go, look, here's a quick summary of our conversation so far. You made the inquiry on this, you were referred by person A, you're looking at me delivering on the 23rd of November, which is a blah in Melbourne, and you want me to be the afternoon keynote. You've also shared with me, and then you type in all your bits. And I find this really, everything, I just love everything about this document. Your event URL, details of accommodation that's provided if it's applicable. You want me to speak on the subject, or you want me to provide sponsorship, or you want me to do something else. Any other comments? Down here, what the format's going to be. Keynote, workshop, MC, travel fee, hotel. And I've purposely put in here the service fees, speaking, coaching, consulting, other, because I want to sow the seed that there's other programs and services that I deliver, right? So that there's work beyond that initial engagement. And I've also put a link in here to a blog that I wrote, which is called Understanding Why Speakers Charge Fees. I wrote that back in 2013 after a global accounting firm wanted me to speak for free while they paid their staff and bought morning tea. And I was cash poor, and I was really upset because it wasn't really anything they were doing wrong, because right now, if they wanted me to speak for free, I would not do that. However, I would come along and have a conversation with them, and let's continue the conversation. I'd feel far more empowered to do so, knowing that it would lead to additional work down the track. Just looking at the comments, we can still only see your keynote screen. Is that right? I've just got to clarify. And please,
that's fine. We can see everything that you're saying now.
Oh, thanks, Gihan. Thank you. Because the chat is hidden while the screen is shared, so I have to go back in and physically pop it up to see. So great. I'm so glad you're seeing it. Yeah, Lisa, you're right about the speaking for free. I would potentially do it if I had a pre-existing relationship with them and I had the opportunity to bring in my books and sell my books at the back of the room. It just depends. Now I'm far more confident. I'm not cash strapped like I was in 2013, and I'm better able to negotiate and represent myself. Again, you speak for free for too much, Joe. Yes, you probably do, and that needs to change. One of the tips that I give you would be if you're going in and you're doing some consulting, I would set a minimum fee for what you do, even if you then give them that as a credit towards products or purchases later. But it's finding something that's a good values fit. And if you're struggling with charging a fee, it's possibly because you've not made the first sale to yourself. So, Joe, I would encourage you to Google my name and then understanding why speakers charge fees, because that will just help give you some answers to some FAQs. And while I understand many organisations don't pay speakers, I can say as a former national executive of a not-for-profit, not-for-profits are also not for loss. And it's being creative to ask them or consider or provide ideas around where you might be able to have cost centres share the load. So, for example, some might be in IT, some might be in learning and development, some might be in sales and marketing. So it doesn't all have to come out of the training budget. So think of it along those lines. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm reading comments off to the side. So if you're watching the replay, there'll also be a text script should be accompanying this recording. So take a look at that. Let me clarify this bit. In Professional Speakers Australia, it's a give back community. So we'll often, there is no one, not even outside people, that get paid to speak at chapter events for Professional Speakers Australia. However, what we're starting to witness a little bit more is a stronger sense of wanting to put resources into the hands of members, for example. And so we're giving people the credit to make decisions for themselves whether or not they wish to take up a resource. So for example, I'm conscious of people at different chapter events bringing their books, people coming and buying books, offering programs or putting their business cards in, and then the speaker is having a follow-up with them. And in the same way, I sought permission from Warwick in relation to making available certain templates that I'm sharing to you as part of an e-course that I'm going to offer you at the end of this teleclass. So it's that sort of thing that enables you to then look at, well, how are we weaving these items into our general conversation, so that even if you are presenting for free, there is a return on investment for you, or a return of your time, your talent, and even your finances that you've spent in making preparations. So let me just steer the conversation back to this actual document. One of my learnings was I originally had my abstracts, you know, Tarran, can you give us an outline of your speech, please? What are the learning outcomes? What will people walk away with? And I realized that it was a couple of clients. One was from KL in Malaysia, and they weren't signing the relationship agreement till they had the abstract bedded down. And that was actually stopping me from booking flights. So what I made the decision to do, and I'd encourage you to do it as well, is do not combine your speaking abstracts with your relationship agreement. Do what I've done here and keep them separate as an attachment. You can reference them, but don't put an obstacle in the way that stops the relationship agreement from being signed. Also, you'll see here that I'm sending through separately the AV requirements, my introduction and my bio, and they're different. The bio goes in the printed material. The introduction is a little bit quirky and fun. It makes very little reference to qualifications, and it's more about building rapport with the audience because the credibility's been stamped there in part. Also, you'll notice here the payment terms. So I've listened to some really great mentors, and I'd encourage you to understand your own relationship with money and look at your wealth dynamics profile. You don't have to buy that tool. It's by Roger Hamilton. However, you can watch him on YouTube and just look at wealth dynamics and understand your relationship with finance, because that may govern the way you negotiate your fees. It's very insightful. Also, consider here the relationship agreements around reimbursements of costs. And then I've elected to do this, which is clarity of roles, tasks and expectations. Marketing, promotion, collateral. On the day of event, people will do X. If Tarran is speaking, they will take care of Y. Also making sure with that, I want to draw your attention to this piece, and let's see if I can enlarge that a little bit for you. Filming. You are welcome to film Tarran's session, but a copy of both the raw and edited versions of the footage must be forwarded to Tarran. She remains the copyright owner of all her content, and the recording cannot be distributed free or paid without her written consent. Tarran Deane or her nominated third party has the right to film for her own session if you do not have a dedicated cameraman. So I'm setting the tone that, hey, if I want footage for a speaker show reel, my cameraman's coming in with me. How cool is that? Let me hear a roar. I think it's pretty good. coming down here, need help to keep your speakers to time. And I'm also quoting an article by another Australian who's married and living in the US, Neen James. She wrote a great blog for meetingsnet.com on 7 ways to stop speakers going over time. So again, look at what value you're bringing. So it's not a cut and dried legalistic document, but it provides a service at the same time. And so I've woven in offerings, bonus offerings, my speaker one sheet, and the booking confirmation date is sucked in from earlier in the document and populates this cell grey area you see there. Expense coverages, speaking, airfares, action required. We then sign it, they sign it. Thanks for this opportunity to serve, and voila. So what do you think about that? Let me check back in with you and see your faces. So if you wouldn't mind unmuting, come be with me. Because I've done so much talking, I need to check in with you and make sure that I'm getting feedback. So what are your thoughts on the relationship agreement thus far? Lisa, your thoughts?
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
So
I love it. It's very clear and it's very simple.
Okay, John Yo there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your company. John, show us your face.
Hello. I'm new to this. Okay.
There he is.
Hello.
Hello, good to have
So
you.
you're over here, but my camera is over here. So
Well, that's okay. I know you're. That's great. Russell Pearson is there. Thank you. Good to have your company, Gihan, and I'm not sure who our other guest is. Oh, Marie, and I'm looking at the comments, making sure I've got everything. Yeah, you're right, Lisa. Just reading your post, it's a catch-22 as new speakers are usually not so good at. What does BORS stand for?
back of room sales.
Oh, thank you very much. I should know that. I should know that, but I didn't. Yeah, look, you're right, Lisa. And sometimes it's only legwork and time that helps boost confidence and prowess. But there are so many people doing a great job that sometimes it's learned by observing others. Gihan, you do a great job with this.
Yes.
If I can compliment you in this way, you through lifting others up through your sales, through lifting others up through your presentation and highlighting them, it actually also elevates you. So I was thinking of that in the context of your presentation at PSA here on the Gold Coast in 2017. When you mentioned about 3 different people and you highlighted them, it elevates your credibility as well. And so I think that's another tactic we can use in terms of selling from the platform, is it just weaves authenticity and authority right in amongst it. So well done.
Yeah, thanks, Tarran. And I've got a better background now, so I can speak. I can turn my mic on.
You're hiding.
Just looking at that. So just in terms of document, I mean, I know we haven't got a lot of time left, but so I use something much, much simpler than that.
Yeah.
So basically, I've got the one-page speaker website that responds to. They basically confirm, and after I have a conversation with them, just send them an email to confirm what we discussed. They reply to say whether we want to go ahead or not, and I just send them a one-page speaker agreement, which they sign along with an invoice, and return that. And then everything else, like the AV requirements and the intro and the bio and photos, that all happens later down the track. Yeah, I just don't want to confuse them with too much. I want to give them the information that they need to make the decision at each stage, and not give them too much detail.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with that. The beauty with the form that I use is I'm filling it in with them. So it's acting as a confirmation. So we're actually going through it, and I don't usually send a proposal off until I'm 90% sure that we're over the line. So the beauty is there's no surprises in there. So you're right. It's finding a method that keeps it very simple and is a reflection of how you like to practice. So it's good. And you also, you send out those thank you cards after you speak. That is brilliant.
Thanks.
In 8 years with PSA and the different roles I've had, you're the only one to have sent a thank you card. So it's very, very cool. You know, from an official platform, not from, say, sitting side by side with someone over coffee. That happens. But as a point of difference as a speaker, memorable. Look at that, John Yo. Very cool. Can't hear you, John. Not just on mute. Coming.
Muted.
That's all right. I've unmuted
There you
it.
go.
I unmuted it.
Oh, thank you. I still can't drive this Zoom.
No, you're doing great.
That's a huge difference.
So I just want to check in with you all. So we've had a look at the AV. We've had AV checklist. We've looked at the relationship agreement. Let me just move this to one side.
No, it's the elevating provisional members up the membership process. I just thought I'd tune in.
So I'm not sure who's chatting. Is that Al Marie in the background? Tuning in? Or Michael? Nope, that's okay. We'll keep going. We've lost them. So the key things that we've covered at the present time have been the speaker one sheets, the AV. I'm looking to the left of the screen. Relationship agreements. So the items that you might want to ask about, I thought what I do now is just turn it over to you and ask for your questions, and rather than typing, if I can just hear them from you and see your faces, that would really help me just to engage with you this late in the night. So share with me any questions you've got about getting to a higher designation or learnings, anything. So I'm yours. So we've got a couple of minutes. John, when are you putting your CSP in? Lisa, when are you putting your CSP in? Remember to unmute.
I am on track, but not there yet. When? That's a great question. I haven't calculated. I think it's end of next year or maybe the beginning of the year after.
Yeah.
I think somewhere on there.
Good stuff. It's good to know it's on your agenda, as it's on mine as well. Lisa, for you, if you're available. Hi, Joe. When are you aiming to lodge your CSP?
Maybe 2020 or 2019.
Oh, that's exciting. A 2020 vision. Wouldn't that be great? So that's good. Even sooner would be delightful. So I know that there are a number of considerations happening at the moment as we continue to look at the CSP designation around the world, because Australia and the US are the only ones that offer the CSP designation at the moment, and the UK offers the fellow. And I had a catch up with Lindsay Adams today, who's our Global Speakers Federation rep, and they're all looking at the whole model of CSP and what that might look like for sort of a pseudo similar baseline, if you like, around the globe, so that we're still having that ambitious quality of a high standard with CSPs, and price is certainly a significant factor, but we're looking at all aspects with it. So Joe, how are you tracking towards, have you got your member? Are you tracking towards professional member?
Yeah, I've done nothing about it though, and I asked a question because I forgot there was a provisional membership. I'm not even sure what that entails. So I haven't looked into it because I thought that was going. So I'm just cruising along. But a lot of my work, I do a lot of in-house training, which is obviously paid. I'm doing a lot of, I attract a lot of organisations, like I said, they don't have a budget for a speaker. So, and I'm just about helping people. So I go and do it with the idea that it might be exposure to the right audience. So it's getting those conversions in place so that I can track the member. Because I set a goal for CSP for 5 years, not last year's convention. So I better get my skates on.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And reverse engineer it, because if you're looking at, for example, I've just been working on a rollout for your 90 days ideas to execution action plan. And when you look at that on a quarterly basis, that actually means that there's 4 quarters a year. And if you're looking for the next 3 years to when you lodge your CSP, then in effect you've only got 12 periods, like 12 3-month blocks to really get this in and focus on your numbers. And I heard someone speak who's not a PSA member, maybe 2013, and she said, you've got to love your numbers. And it's not about loving money, but it's loving your numbers, because they are indicators, and it's a powerful indicator of the difference that we're making. If we can determine that we're not just busy being busy with activity, but we're actually getting traction through intention. So I think that's something that you and I can have a chat about if you'd like later, or book in a time, and I'm happy to sort of guide you through that process towards professional member. Russell Pearson, I see that hand.
Right. I just wanted to quickly say, and yes, we can have that conversation later, but Joe, there's also the option of different ways of getting speaking. For instance, I know of other speakers who are sponsored to do their presentations, and because they're talking on certain subject matter, they can get sponsored by a supplier within that space, mention them, become an affiliate of sorts for that partner. And there are other options where I've seen, let's say that they really want you to come in there, you negotiate a 10-minute slot for a sponsor for the event, which then pays for your fee as well. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to skin the cat. And I guess in your scenario where you are trying to help people, but there is a very niche expertise, I think there are a lot of options for you. So let's have that conversation later as well.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, particularly as you're representing a particular brand, and you are known to be an ambassador / recognised expert, that would make sense. So that's another way of deriving income from that. Also, just in terms, I want to tag on to something that you said, Russell, around sponsorship. One of the key things I did was have a promo video done as a mini documentary, and I know that's been shown at 2 conventions on branding, both which came as a surprise to me. But that video, I have leveraged it no end, and I actually saw a conference that I wanted to speak on the stage of, and I wasn't on their radar. And instead what I elected to do was donate an executive coaching package as a prize, which got me free entry to this $2,000 conference. And they went, "Oh, Tarran, would you like us to show your logo?" And I went, "Yes, I'm actually just waiting for my official video to be launched." And they went, "We'll play that for you on every break in all the main halls." And it was with the Australian mining sector. And the person who won the program was with BHP. So you never know what can happen if you decide to go and speak for free that way, and you sponsor something. It just opens up doors for negotiation. So that's all very cool. So any other questions from the audience around getting to member? Got some thoughts? Hi, Michael, any questions? Sorry, say again, Michael, just had you on mute.
Sorry, no, I think it's good to get a feeling how you're working and how it works. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And we have Sue Lester and Mandy Napier had joined us. And if I can just extend to both of you ladies a warm welcome. And I suspect because of the head office daylight saving time change, that said it was going to start at 8 p.m. Australian Standard Time. That's why you're joining us right now. So when everyone else wraps up, I'm going to stay on for extra time for both of you as well, just to make sure you're getting some value from this. So sorry with the mix up with daylight saving. It's taken a couple of people by surprise. Okay, so coming into this, just wanted to go back, share the screen for one last time, and let's go back into desktop rather than a PDF, and close that. Here we go. So the final piece that I wanted to share with you here that has worked very well for me has been developing written scripts for proposals, invoicing, and the email service provider email sequences. I was especially feeling guilty about not staying in touch with people that I'd met at conferences, etc. I was relying too heavily on social media and downplaying the importance of having my own database. So that's something I'd encourage you to definitely look at. Again, become comfortable with the way that you communicate, how you like to share things, what your style is with the written word. Be you, but look at some examples of people that are already emailing you. So informal mentors that you may follow, and look at their style and what resonates with you and what doesn't, and what would you like to do, and then just create some templates in Word or in Russell, what's it called when there's no formatting? On Mac, I think it's text edit. I can't remember what it is on Windows. But just create some text.
Yes, text edit is the
text edit. Okay, that's great. So I recommend that. And again, there's some great people within the Professional Speakers Australia Facebook group. So you can ask them, don't be afraid to ask them their tips on warming up a dead list or warming up a cold list, and how you can start the conversation again with people. So that brings us to the key piece that I wanted to share with you now, and it's done so with the permission of Warwick Mary. So I'm offering a 90-day Ideas to Execution Action Plan e-course. So that's going to be up and operating within the next 14 days. It's $297 plus GST. That gives you access to that course plus 9 videos, and it's aimed at you getting traction on 3 key projects every 90 days. So I teach you how to do that project, and then I teach you how to use that tool, and then you get access to an online community with me for the period of 90 days to just kickstart you. And what we've also wanted to do as a team here at Corporate Cinderella is include a speaker AV checklist. So we'd make sure that it's a generic document, and you simply drag and drop your photo into the corner and edit to put your contact information in. We'd also look to provide you with the editable PDF multi-purpose relationship agreement. That way it would be completely generic for you. And the final piece is the Signature 7 Leadership Framework. So you can look at how I structure my working week. It's an infographic. It highlights how you can set up your days, and indeed use it as inspiration for how you might set up your social media auto scheduling. So that is only available if you commit tonight for that, and you'd simply need to message me ceo@tarrandeane.com if that's something that you would like, or you can alternatively put it in the chat bar to the side, yes you're interested, and then we can communicate over the next 24 hours and get you organised with that. Great, Sue. Sorry we missed you. The recording should be pretty good. And that's great. John, you're in. Perfect. Love to have you on board with that. So again, the intention with this e-course is that it's like me as a coach in your pocket. It's self-paced. You have access to me. You get the templates. Now, I'd share with you that the work that I did to create that multi-purpose document took me the better part of 3 days. Then I sent it off to my graphic designer, and I had that collateral done, and it was more than $600 for me just to get that graphic work done. And I know that, you know, Russell Pearson, who's online with us now, is a brilliant branding guy. So I highly encourage you to look at the talent around the room. So if this is for you and what I do is for you, then I'd love to serve you. If you need more detailed advice around your overarching branding strategy, I'm not the person for you. That it may be worth having conversations with someone like Russell down the track. So again, this is what I'm proposing. If you're interested in that, just put a comment to the side, and we'd make sure that we get that sorted for you. So I'll take a look at some of the personal comments again in a moment. I just want to come back here to one of the opening slides so that you can look at this. I want you to just do a quick check. Do you have these things already in your business? These were the assumptions that I shared at the beginning of the call tonight, so that you are able to confirm whether or not you've got the very basics settled. Okay. Lisa, not sure quite what you mean by that. So rather than me name that inquiry, happy for you to send me an email to ceo@tarrandeane.com with a little bit more info, and I might be able to respond to that with greater clarity. So again, taking a look at this, tell me, have you got all this stuff sorted out? I know, Russell, for example, you actually run this as a business and you have a whole team around you and you speak to grow your branding business. So I have high expectations. You're all over this. But for others who may be operating as a solopreneur, have not yet developed, say, a virtual team, for example, I can highly say that getting these systems in place just made a huge difference, grew my business, and also enabled me to expand to different aspects. Sounds great, all except speakers. Do you mean e-speakers by that, Joe? Because I know spell check is dropping the E off e-speakers. Yes, and it did there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, once you progress up from affiliates to provisional member, and CSP, you currently have complimentary access to the e-speakers directory. The e-speakers directory, where speakers do business on the web. It's a great tool, and of course that's only going to be available to provisional members right through until the end of next year, once the branding change is complete with membership alterations. So we talked about serving your database, serving your people, growing your database, making sure you get all the contact information up and running. Make sure you've got your Speaker One sheet. Where possible, consider uploading it to the web as a PDF. And you might want to be a bit savvy and have people opt in to receive it. That's a great tip. This is the AV checklist that I give you separate to my information. I drag that all out, so you drop your photo in, add your text, your name, drop your logo in, and drop your contact information in. And so I'd have my staff go through and just remove my name where it appears, and it will just be generic there, because we want to keep it as simple as possible for you. The multi-purpose document, a couple of scripts as I've developed them for you, and then that brings us back to this piece here. So that's the $297, including the access to the 90 days, the AV checklist, the multi-purpose document, and the 7 signature Finish 7 leadership for 297 plus GST. So again, let me know if any of these things are of interest to you. Just leave a comment in the chat section. So John, you're in with that, which is great. So I'm going to be in touch with you about that overnight, John, well, probably tomorrow about that and next steps. For the rest of you, I am going to pause the recording now so that we can just have candid conversation if you wish to stay online. Otherwise, I know it's getting late. So I'll make myself available for another 5 or so minutes. I'll stop the recording now. With a huge thank you to joining us, and I hope this has been really helpful. So stay on the line now if you'd like to have a bit more Q&A, and I'll just pause the recording